The salary trap. Why the system keeps you poor. Most people spend 40 years running on a treadmill that moves backwards, yet they wonder why they never get anywhere. You have been sold a lie that a steady paycheck is the ultimate goal, but in reality, it is the primary mechanism designed to keep you from true financial independence. The trap starts early. It begins with the unspoken agreement of the Industrial Revolution. In 1914, Henry Ford shocked the world by doubling the daily wage for his factory workers to $5. It was a genius move. It created a middle class that could afford to buy the very cars they were building. This established the blueprint for the modern employee. Trade your time for a fixed sum, use that sum to consume goods, and repeat until you are too old to work. But look at the math today. Since 1979, the productivity of the average American worker has increased by nearly 65%. In that same time frame, hourly compensation, adjusted for inflation, has risen by less than 20%. The gap between what you produce and what you are paid has grown into a canyon. This is where your wealth is vanishing. Your employer keeps the delta, the surplus value, and you are left with just enough to maintain your current lifestyle while hoping for a 3% annual raise that barely covers the rising price of eggs and rent. This is the first layer of the trap. The paycheck is a leash. It is designed to be just high enough to keep you comfortable, but just low enough to ensure you cannot leave. When your survival is tied to a single source of income, you have no leverage. You cannot negotiate your value, you cannot take risks, and you cannot walk away from a toxic environment. You become risk-averse by design. Consider the concept of lifestyle inflation. Every time you get a promotion, your brain tricks you into thinking you are richer. You move to a slightly nicer apartment. You lease a car with a higher monthly payment. You start eating out at restaurants with cloth napkins. You are playing a game of catch-up where the finish line moves every time you get close. By the time you adjust your spending to match your new income, you are exactly as poor as you were before. You have simply upgraded your cage. The system relies on your lack of financial literacy. In most schools, you are taught how to follow instructions, how to show up on time, and how to operate within a hierarchy. You are never taught how money actually works. You are taught how to be an employee, not an owner. There is a massive structural difference between the two. An owner owns assets. An employee owns nothing but their labor. Assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, intellectual property have the capacity to appreciate and generate income without your active participation. Labor is a depreciating asset. Every year that passes, your physical and mental energy levels decline. If you rely solely on your labor, you are essentially betting that your capacity to work will increase forever. That is a losing bet. Let us look at the tax code. In the United States, the Internal Revenue Code is thousands of pages long. If you read through it, you will notice something peculiar. The people who pay the lowest effective tax rates are not the ones with high salaries. They are the ones with investment income. If you earn a high salary as a doctor or an engineer, you are taxed at the highest marginal rates. If you earn that same amount through capital gains, dividends, or business depreciation, you pay a fraction of that amount. The system actively incentivizes owning, not earning. By staying in the salary trap, you are volunteering to pay the highest possible tax burden while simultaneously having no control over your wealth generation. Then there is the concept of the golden handcuffs. You get promoted to middle management. You get a stock option package that vests over 4 years. Suddenly, you cannot leave your job because you are waiting for those options to hit. Then you get a bonus structure that pays out in February. You cannot leave in January. You become a hostage to your own compensation package. You spend your best years climbing a ladder that is leaning against the wrong wall. Think about the psychological impact of the salary. It creates a false sense of security. You feel safe because you know exactly how much will hit your bank account on the 15th and the 30th. But there is no such thing as job security. In the current economic climate, loyalty to a company is a one-way street. Companies have a fiduciary duty to shareholders, not to you. If a spreadsheet determines that cutting your salary will improve the quarterly margin, you are gone. The salary trap makes you believe you are part of a family, but you are just a line item on a budget report. To escape, you must change your relationship with time. The salary model treats time as a constant. You sell an hour for a set price. To earn more, you must sell more hours. But there are only 24 hours in a day. You have a hard ceiling on your income. Wealth, however, is decoupled from time. Wealth is created when you build systems or acquire assets that generate value while you sleep. It requires a fundamental shift in mindset. You must stop asking how much you can make and start asking how you can provide value that scales. When you provide value that scales, you stop being an employee and start becoming an entrepreneur or an investor. Consider the difference between linear and exponential growth. A salary is linear. If you get a 10% raise, your income goes up by 10%. That is fine, but it is limited. Exponential growth happens when you create something once, a software product, a piece of content, a rental property, and it can be sold or utilized by thousands of people simultaneously. The cost of replication is near zero. This is the secret of the top 1%. They do not trade time for money, they trade value for wealth. The system will tell you that this path is risky. They will tell you that the stock market is a gamble or that starting a business is reckless. And they are right if you have no knowledge. But there is no risk greater than having your entire life dependent on a single company's decision to keep paying you. Diversification is not just for your portfolio, it is for your life. Start by auditing your expenses. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, you are in the deepest part of the trap. You must force a surplus. You must spend less than you earn, not to hoard the money, but to buy your freedom. Every dollar you save and invest is an employee that works for you 24 hours a day without complaining or asking for a raise. Look at the history of the 401k. It was never intended to be your primary retirement vehicle. It was an accident of a 1978 tax amendment that companies adopted to shift the burden of retirement savings from themselves to you. Before that, companies provided pensions. Now you are responsible for your own retirement, and you are expected to navigate complex markets with no training. You are expected to be your own hedge fund manager while working a full-time job. It is a setup designed for failure. You must stop seeking permission. In the corporate world, you wait for a performance review to get a promotion. You wait for a boss to tell you you are ready. That is a child's mindset. In the real world, you do not wait for permission. You identify a problem, you solve it, and you charge for the solution. If you want to break the cycle, you have to embrace the discomfort of uncertainty. The salary trap is comfortable, but it is not safe. It is a slow-motion disaster that catches up to you when you are 50 or 60 and realize you have traded your youth for a stack of paper that no longer covers your basic needs. You have been running a race where the winner gets to retire with just enough money to pay for the medical bills they accrued while working to win the race. Look at the billionaires and the ultra-wealthy. They do not have salaries. They have equity. They own the engine. They don't just polish the gears. You don't have to be a billionaire, but you must own something. You must move from being a consumer to being a producer. This requires discipline that most people refuse to exercise. It means saying no to the new car, no to the fancy vacations, and yes to the investment that will pay dividends 10 years from now. It means reading books instead of watching mindless content. It means learning how to code, how to sell, how to negotiate, and how to manage capital. The system wants you to be a perpetual consumer. Every advertisement you see is designed to keep you in the trap. If you own nothing, you are a slave to those who do. You work to buy the products that the wealthy own. You are fueling their growth while your own stalls. The cycle stops when you decide that your time is more valuable than your comfort. It stops when you realize that a steady paycheck is not a shield against poverty, but a gilded fence that keeps you from the opportunities that actually build wealth. You have been conditioned to fear the absence of a salary. You should fear the presence of one that prevents you from building your own future. We live in an age where the barrier to entry for wealth creation has never been lower. You have the sum of human knowledge in your pocket. You have access to global markets from your living room. The tools are there, but the mindset is missing. You are still waiting for a boss to tell you what to do. Take a hard look at your bank statement. Ask yourself if your lifestyle is truly your own or if it is just a reflection of what your employer expects of you. Are you working to live, or are you working to maintain a position that doesn't actually belong to you? The trap only works if you keep running on the treadmill. If you step off, the system will try to scare you back on. They will tell you that you are making a mistake. They will tell you that you are irresponsible. But the only real mistake is spending your life building someone else's dream while your own dreams die in the margins of your schedule. You were not born to work for a fixed price until your body gives out. You were born to create, to innovate, and to own. Every day you stay in the salary trap is another day you give away your power. You have the capacity to change, but it requires a level of courage that the average person will never muster. The world is changing. The old rules of the 20th century are dead. If you continue to play by them, you will lose. The question is not whether you can afford to leave the trap. The question is whether you can afford to stay. Look at your life today and imagine the next 30 years unfold in exactly the same way. If that image terrifies you, you know exactly what you need to do. Stop trading your life for a salary and start investing your time in something that can never be taken away from you. The trap is real, but the door is unlocked. You just have to be willing to open it.